for joining me on my pathway to podiatry. Hey! So I'm back with the We Want to Know Wednesday segment, and today's topic, if you have not read the title, is how on earth do you pay for medical school? It's free. I'm just kidding. No, it's not. A lot of you may know. If you don't, medical school is very, 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 very expensive. A common question that I do get is, how do you pay for medical school? Do you have to pay for it out of pocket? I'm here to give you the information that you need. Some background information so you know my story, because every situation can be different. How I pay the majority of medical school is through my loans. And we're gonna dive into all that information, but there's a lot of different components. So I'll start from the very beginning. When you are entering medical school, there are a lot of things to consider, like the cost of that school's tuition, the cost to live in the location of whatever school you're looking at. Based on tuition, there are schools that are more expensive than others. So me personally, I pay for the majority of my school through loans. I was offered a scholarship from Barry for my full 4 years. Like every year, I would have a certain amount, as long as I maintained a certain GPA. So if I maintained that GPA, I would be able to keep my scholarship. I'm not sure, and I have not heard of any full ride scholarships. Full ride meaning that they cover every single cost for medical school, for podiatry specifically. However, I was previously looking into a scholarship through the Navy or the Army. I know that they have those options. But I didn't go through with it just because there are things that they require you to, like you have to serve and stuff like that for a certain time after you graduate or during your residency. I'm not really too well versed on that process, but I do know that there are some people who have done that route and they were very happy with it. But those are the only full ride situations I've heard of. To talk a little bit more about the loans, federal loans that you are able to take as a medical school student are just enough to cover your tuition and the average cost of living for the location that you're going to be living in. My loans cover my tuition and also my cost of living for Miami, for the average cost of living in Miami. AACPM is a website that I'll link down in my description that has a tons of information, and some of that information includes the average cost of living for the locations of all the 9 schools, as well as the cost of the tuition for each of the 9 schools. So those are things that you can look into when you're applying, when you're choosing which medical school you want to go to. Depending on you and how many loans you're willing to take, you do have the option of taking all the loans necessary for the cost of living and school. Despite a credit or anything, all students will be granted. It doesn't matter, like you do have to fill out the FAFSA, just like you did if you did in college. But that information does not determine how much loan money you will be granted. There could be a student with a financial need based on family information that might be a lot higher than another student, but both students will be granted the same amount of loan for the cost of the school that they're going to and the cost of living that they need. I took a gap year before starting medical school. In my gap year, I was working a full-time job and I was saving a lot of money, because even though you do have your loans to pay for your school's tuition and cost of living, you do not get that money from the school until like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after you start the program. So you need to keep in mind, like if you're moving out of state, for example, you need to have money to be able to put down for your first, last, whatever month rent. For application fees, moving costs, all that stuff. So you need to keep that stuff in mind when you're thinking about where you're going to go to school as well. Once you start medical school and you have that loan money or whatever money that you're using, because you can also choose not to use the loan money if you are fortunate enough to pay for it out of pocket. Once you have whatever money you have to keep in mind that you get them in chunks per semester. For my first semester, my fall semester, I remember I got my refund check and it was in bulk for the full semester, and I would have to make it last until the next semester. For me, it wasn't very difficult because there are a lot of things that you can do to make it a little easier for you and your pockets. If you want to hear more about that or tips about that, just let me know down in the comments. I can make a separate video about that. People also ask me if you are able to work in medical school, and I did make a video all about that. Typically people don't, but I'll link the video down below so that you can check that out if that's something you were wondering about. So the big question, can you be broke to go to medical school? And the answer is yes, you can be broke to go to medical school, because personally, I was broke going in and I'm gonna be way more broke getting out. Those are things to definitely consider when you're trying to go into medical school. You have to really want to do this because you're taking on a lot of debt. You're just not only signing up to be a doctor, you're also signing up to take on multiple thousands in loan debt. So I think that pretty much sums up everything. If you really like this content, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any additional questions regarding this topic, and I'll be sure to answer you down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will tune in with you guys in the next one. Bye. Bye.